Welcome to my ramblings, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. In a prior episode, a recently released episode, I talked about the Indiana Jones persona and how I sort of likened myself because not only did I do the engineering work that was required at my desk, I often had to go out into the field to get data, nameplate data primarily. In most instances, but sometimes you had to take panels apart because you needed to because ratings were covered up and a lot of this equipment was old. And I talk about how arc flash came into the picture. And but, so Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, um, back in San Diego. um, uh, I talked about a lot of things that were going on. And at the time, my wife, she's my ex-wife now, was pressing me to have a vasectomy, but she would always refer to it as surgery. So she'd call me out in public. When are you going to get the surgery? When are you going to get the surgery? Would you please start referring to this as what it is? It's a vasectomy. I didn't want to get vasectomy. I didn't want somebody fooling around with my junk. um, but I kind of think somehow because of that warped, twisted mentality that some of my fellow civil servants had, that the Indiana Jones persona got shifted into 50-50, and then for some reason spending 50% of the time in the field, which is really more like 10-15%, and 50% of the time in the office, just kind of got to some people reduced to 50-50, to the point where even a civil engineer came up to me and asked, hey, is it true? Are you 50-50? And I'm thinking in terms of Indiana Jones, and I say yes. Sometimes I think this public argument with my ex about getting a vasectomy and her referring it to surgery sort of reinforced the sick, twisted notions that some people had. And there's a couple instances I just shrugged them off, thought it was coincidence. Where I think this actually followed me through a couple of places in my career, including people kind of trying to get a peek and stuff. Come on. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about is I talked about how I was on a commercial flight and customs diverted me to have a talk with a couple of Air Force officials. In case anybody doesn't realize, Air Force isn't going to be the people that you go and talk to, I suppose. If you get when you get prior experience, or they may have been Air Force officers. Obviously, it was the NSA or some other organization along those lines. And again, um, wherever the hell sent them on that, well, again, I mean, I was more than happy to cooperate with them. If there was something that, that they were concerned about, I was more than happy to, whatever information you need. And it was just basically, who are you? And then they looked me up. I mean, you got all this issues of who is this guy in San Diego? Why the hell don't you ask a supervisor? Why don't you go to the human resources office? Instead, I think a lot of rumors and stuff spread around. I use the same terminology the Navy used for the position I was going to end up in after my internship, which, by the way, because I got people thinking that I'm still in the internship. Um, I was a 2-year program. It ended long ago. But I think I had military followed me around, or civil servants as well followed me around in private industry. They were supposed to. They took it upon themselves to track me to see how I was doing in the internship. I don't know, but anyway. So they were Air Force officers, but obviously they weren't there on behalf of the Air Force. They were there on behalf of some security agency or something. And I hope they got bad. Say, who the hell put us on it? I mean, honestly, they got to follow up on the leads. So, but you kind of hope that, well, with all this nonsense that's going on, somebody paid a price for their nonsense. Whoever it was, it somehow triggered something that required such a high damn level of security response. I just hope they were held accountable for it. Anyway, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Um, that's probably about as weird as shit gets. Most of it's about, Commodore issues and stuff like that. So, anyway, hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you're about as troubled about it as I am, but we'll call it amusing. Have a good day.